Dan, are you going to sing today for us?
Am I going to sing?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you a singer?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I think there's part of me that would
figure it out.
like to.
Yeah.
But
I feel that. I feel that. That sounds good. That looks good. Do you do a lot of sound checking by eye? I'm curious.
What do you mean by eye?
Just looking at waveforms?
Oh, no. Well, I do pretty much exclusively live.
Okay.
So I'll look at like a VU meter. I'm not seeing waveforms. I'm seeing like levels on a meter. Sometimes I'll use that as a reference point, but what I usually try to do is put the fader at unity.
Okay.
And then bring the gain up. Got it. To where it's at a good point. So I want my faders to sit at unity if I can.
Okay. And so what is fader at unity?
That's so you see how your faders, they go all the way down at the bottom. It's infinity.
Right.
And it goes up like -60, -50, 40. And then it hits
zero.
I see. At zero. Zero is unity.
Okay.
So if you're going to do the preference is to have your faders at unity at zero. Because, you know, as you can see, the lower the fader, any moves that you do, like an even move, physical move when you're lower compared to higher is a drastic difference compared to, because if you move it, you know, a tiny bit when it's farther down, you can move 5 dB like super quick. When you're up higher, it's to move 5 dB is a way bigger move. So you can be more granular.
I see.
Up top.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. I forget what the word is where the fader is not even all the way up. I'm just,
You're the sound engineer.
It's not, you know, it's not necessarily a word that's exclusive to that, but.
Yeah. I mean, I just know I've gotten to a point to where I can see, you know, I've done enough now to where I can.
But with recording too, it's not always like, you know, what I hear out of a PA is not necessarily what's going to be useful on a recording, which sometimes you have to record and, you know, do sound reproduction at the same time, and it's not always easy.
So what do you know about live sound audio engineering?
I know not to unplug my guitar before I ask the sound guy if I can.
Have you done that a few times?
Not that many times, but I think when I first started playing, I don't think most people know or realize that, especially, you know, if you go to like an open mic, sometimes you just hear like that pop.
Oh, yeah.
Pop, like, you know, people just don't realize. And then there's like a shameful glare that goes throughout the room. You only need like one or two of those to learn, you know?
Yeah.
It seems to be the way they teach people is just by shame. You know?
That's fair. Step on the tuner or the volume pedal before undoing the. All right, got it.
Well, sometimes they don't have a tuner.
That's true.
It's just right in.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, welcome, guys. Thank y'all for being here. You know, I think we started trying to coordinate, and I look back, it was in April.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Dan was like, "Dude, should we reschedule?" I was like, "No, Dan, no."
It's all good. It's all good. But no, seriously, thank y'all very much for being here. So
just for having us.
Just want to talk about Joining All Musicians and kind of how it started and where you guys are today. So we'll just kind of start off with some brief introductions. So we'll start with you.
Yeah. Well, my name is Noelle Bugaj. I'm one of the founders of Joining All Musicians, JAM for short. And JAM started in, I think, like 2019, 2020. I had taken a personal development course, and part of that process was looking at different communities in your life. And, you know, community can be defined loosely, you know, like your family is a community or your friends at work or, you know, different hobbies that you may have. And so I was thinking about my music community, and they had you go through a process of just like considering the community and what it would be like for people in that community if starting today, nothing else ever changed. Like it was just exactly as it is right now for eternity.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah. And so at that time, I was in a band that had just fallen together really easily. Like I never had to look for anybody. You know, my lead guitarist showed up, keyboardist showed up, drummer showed up, drummer moved to Vietnam at the same time. Another drummer showed up immediately, never had to book. Just all the people just showed up and everything just fell into place and like gigs fell into place. And I thought about all these other musicians that are so talented that doesn't happen for.
Right.
And so part of it was like, what can you create to support some kind of shift in that space? And so that's what Jam was born out of, was just thinking, how can I create more connection for more people so that like the right person is there at the right time? And Dan and I were friends. And so I talked to Dan about it when it was just a little tiny idea. And then you can expand on that if you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Dan Parseghian, one of the Jam co-founders, and a live sound audio engineer, which is how I've been kind of ingrained in the music industry and the music scene for a while. But yeah, we were actually co-working on 2 separate other business ideas that we were, kind of trying to get off the ground, or you had already gotten off the ground, yours. And Noelle had told me,
and you were trying to do like a hummus thing or kayaks. I don't know. You were doing all kinds of things.
Just hey,
kites, kayaks, hummus. What are we talking about?
Awesome. Noelle told me about this idea, and it just like baffled me that something like this didn't exist yet. And, it was one of those things that it was just like, if this doesn't, like, we need to look in if it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't, we need to make this happen because, how many musicians do you know? How many people want to be musicians that are just like, I don't know how to get into this. And just from working with so many musicians over the years, it can be very cliquey. It can be very hard to get in with people or meet people because, musicians, you kind of look at the personality and like of your typical musician, and, there's not a lot of people that are necessarily going out, or, some musicians just will stay in their house and just play. And so like to get that connection that's genuine, it's not something that's easily created in that space. So the whole idea of like creating something that they could easily go on and to create events where people could meet was something that just made sense.
Yeah. And so and you were in a band. What kind of band was it? Let's start there.
Yeah, so I call it sultry folk rock is like what I call the genre of music that I make. I always hate the question, like the genre question, but also it's like you can't avoid it either, right? It's like you're kind of describing generally. But I had been singing my whole life, never in any kind of formal sense, like never purposely sought out a band. And coming and moving to Austin, you're just surrounded by music, right? So I think that pulls people here in general as an integral part of the community, and just inspired me to like get back into it and then actually pick up the guitar, which I had tried to learn to play a couple times years before, but never really got into. And a friend of mine, after a South by, we were like up at 3 a.m. getting back from a good time, and he like picked up a guitar, and I was like, oh my gosh, can you teach me how to play? And he taught me how to strum down, G, C, D, and A on the guitar. And I said, can we do this again? Like every week, can you teach me? And he said, sure. And the next week I came back and I was like, I wrote a song, and all I knew how to do was strum down those 4 chords. And then that was, the rest was history in that sense, as we played, every week. It was just him and I for a year or two, just writing songs, not being able to stay in time with each other as like 2 guitarists with no drummer. And eventually we were like, we need to get out of the bedroom and we need a drummer to do that, to help keep us in time. And then a drummer showed up and a bassist showed up, and
Are y'all still playing today? What's the name of the group?
Yeah, so the band's called The Spoken Tones.
Okay.
We're not actively playing. We released an album in 2023, And at that time, I just wanted to kind of take a break and pare down what we were doing and kind of come back to more like acoustic folky sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but are you still doing that today? I mean, are you still playing around
I
town?
Play. Yeah. I haven't been. I'm starting to play more, put more of my music out again, slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so, where have you played around town?
Yeah. So when we first started playing, I always tell people, especially when we meet people and jam, and some of them are forming bands or they have bands and they're trying to get their foot in the door. Like our first time we played at an open mic, and then the first gig that we ever had, we opened for the open mic at Giddy Ups. And then we had some different friends. One of our friends was a hotel manager, and she asked if we could play monthly in their lobby. So that was like our first paid gig, was playing each month in their lobby. And we had that we had a residency right off the bat.
That's awesome.
Which again is just like, it's all about just these interesting random connections that like show up for you and trying to create more opportunities for that to occur for somebody else. So we initially just like had a residency. That was our first gig. And then we had another residency at the Highball. We played at like Barrel Fun. We had another residency at Docks, which is like up north.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good stage and live music. They got a great sound engineer up there. It's not Dan.
I was gonna say, is it Dan? Is that a plug?
Love you, Dan, but
it's
not you. And yeah, and I played at the Whip-In. Like one of our first gigs besides the hotel at like the actual venue was from a random Tinder date from years prior who was a drummer that we hung out one time, just played music, and then, it wasn't a fit. But years later, he was like, hey, you have a band? I have a band. Like, I'm trying to fill a bill. Like, can you play? And so sometimes you never know, like what.
Never know.
One, just like being out there, connecting with people. Two, making sure people know that you're involved in music in some way and kind of sharing that out. Then oftentimes those connections will come to you as well. So
it's all about creating your network, right? And just like you said, just getting out there and communicating to the world what you want to do, and just meeting people. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all this is a relationship business, right? And
yeah,
I mean, you kind of touched on it, but a lot of people just kind of, me included, hang out in their rooms and just strum along and never really want to take it anywhere, and that's fine. But if you
Absolutely.
do, and that's 100% acceptable, nothing wrong with that. But if you do want to take it somewhere, it's all about playing the game, so to speak, of just networking, getting out there. So it makes complete sense.
And it's not just, if you want to get out and play and you need to form a band with that, making those connections to meet the people to play with. It's like you can do that, but then after you've made your band, you've got your songs, like you need to have the connections to get to the gigs then.
Yep.
So there's just like, there's so much connection that you need to do, so much ingraining in the community, and it's hard. It's not easy.
Is it like that in your world too?
Yeah, it can be. You got to kind of be a part of it. And when you kind of realize that it's not just necessarily going to fall in your lap, and sometimes gigs do just fall in your lap, and you got to say yes to them because it's not going to happen all the time, but you got to go out and you got to make it happen. And I tell that to guys that are coming up in my industry all the time that ask, what it's just like, meet everybody, every gig is an interview for your next gig. And that's when you're playing in a band, the same thing. Like how many people get discovered because someone was in the audience at one of their shows. So, they are very similar, and it is so much about who and showing up and doing your best every time, because you never know who you're going to meet, and someone can get you a gig, and someone can introduce you to someone who can get you a gig, or introduce you to your next bandmate, or someone who's got a song that you can play, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And so obviously talk to a lot of musicians on the show. You're the first audio engineer here, sound engineer. What's the appropriate title? Excuse my ignorance on it.
Either audio engineer or sound engineer.
So what's the
God.
what's your favorite I was gonna say place to play. See, there I go. What's your favorite place to work in town? what
In
has been
town,
one of your
I mean,
favorite spots?
so I haven't worked at too many like clubs here in town.
Okay.
I do a lot. I work for a lot of sound companies, so we'll set up stages usually or festivals and set up sound systems. And honestly could be anywhere.
Okay.
Do I have a favorite place? Not really.
Zilker Park?
If I enjoy, if I enjoy an indoor place, it's more because of like kind of the vibe.
Yep. I got you.
But I will tell you right now, if you have enough PA, outside is always probably going to be the best because you're not dealing with acoustics.
Mm.
You're not fighting any reflections or anything weird. But there is something to be said about a well-treated room with a good PA. That is, you're not always going to find in like a club or something like that, but sometimes that gives helps with the vibe.
Yeah.
Is that crazy sound?
But you have done ACL? I thought I saw.
I have done ACL festival.
So, I mean, that's a whole other scale.
Yes, it is.
So, like, how do you prepare for something like that? Or is it just, you're showing up, you know what you're doing? I mean, are you having to learn this whole new board and this whole new gear?
So when I mean, you kind of don't go into that not knowing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
So when I've done it twice, and the first time I did it as kind of like the house engineer for the stage we were at, and then the second year I was what's called a system tech.
Okay.
So I flew the PA, time-aligned it, tuned it, and then most bands that show up for that level of a festival will show up with their own engineer.
I see. Yeah.
And they'll either use our house board or they'll have their own board, and they're just handing me, their outputs of their console to tie into my system.
I see.
So a lot of it is kind of just like making sure they're not going to blow up any of the amps, things like that.
Yeah.
But you got to hand them over your PA that you have to, be proud of and know that like, this sounds good.
Right.
This is a good festival PA.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like I said, sometimes they don't show up and you get to mix, and, you got to know that house board that you're sent out with.
Right.
But also, if you're getting put on a gig, you either should know the board or you should know how. Like for me, it's like, it doesn't matter what the board is. I know what I'm trying to do. I just need to learn the UI of that.
I see.
Of that console, because every company's different.
Yeah, buttons here, sliders here.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, it was actually funny the first year that we did it. It was like right after COVID, and this company Avid had a couple years before COVID had just come out with this new board, their flagship board, and not a lot of people had used it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically my job that year was, when guest engineers came in, was to teach them how to use this board, because not really anyone had used it. But before that gig, I also had never used it. So, and you know what? I just went on YouTube University, taught myself the whole thing.
I love it.
And the next week I was teaching everyone how to use it.
Who was the band on stage for that? Do you remember? Or bands?
I don't know. I honestly couldn't remember.
Yeah. So who are some of the bigger names you've mixed for? I'm just curious.
Man, I gotta think about that one, because I've worked with a lot of artists. I haven't mixed all of them. I've done a lot of tech gigs.
Yeah. Okay.
Where, you're setting up a lot of the gear.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest artists that I've probably worked with are the ones that I've toured with.
Mm.
But here in town, man.
Okay, so you actually were on the crew
say the
touring?
Ones that you toured with?
Yeah. So I mean, I toured with a lot of older acts at this point. My first like big tour was with Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Oh wow.
And that was great. I did that for 3 years. And then with that same company that I was touring with, I did John Fogerty, Creedence Clearwater Revival,
Wow,
Jackson Brown, Jeff Beck, and I think I did someone else. I also did the Monkees as well.
So I mean, this is your profession,
yeah,
and so you're not. Are you feeling the pressure of making sure Jackson Brown sounds like Jackson Brown said, or is it just, I don't care if it's a middle school choir or Jackson Brown, I'm feeling the same way.
If you want to be, I mean, if it kind of goes with anything, if you want to be successful and be professional, you got to show up with the same attitude on every gig.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So,
I just don't know if you,
I think there's the bigger the gig, the more pressure you feel,
mm-hmm.
maybe more uncomfortable you feel, but,
right.
I'm not going to just mail it in on something small,
right?
Because my name's on that show. And like I said before, every gig is an interview for your next gig.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I had heard, I think it was the Chili Peppers at ACL one year. I wasn't there, but they had were you there that year?
I was there that year. It was a different stage though.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't me.
No.
So that's just part of the business, right? And these things happen.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what happened. I guess something was off. They weren't getting any sound, or maybe their monitors were off.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened.
That's, I'm in construction. For me, worst case scenario is accidents on a project. God forbid that ever happens, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's part of the business, and you have protocols and you have ways to deal with it. I think people it was like all over the place when it first happened. I was like, these things happen. I'm sure the Chili Peppers were like, all right, let's just move on, So I don't know. Since you weren't a part of it, I was going to ask, how was it behind the scenes if you were a part of it? But
obviously it's looked at as a big deal, but if you're looking at things in the grand scheme, when issues happen at a concert, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But also people are spending their hard-earned money to come see
an
experience.
That is very true.
Be entertained. So there's two sides of that coin where it's like, and there are some people that just absolutely lose their minds when things go wrong, and we want to do the best job, but also at the end of the day, you got to look at it like, nobody died.
Yep.
We're all going to be okay.
I agree. Yeah, I was at a show at the local act, and I won't say who it is, but the mic was cutting out, and in the middle of the song, they just threw the mic on the stage and just walked off the stage. And it wasn't like a small venue; it was a pretty good sized venue, and I was just like, okay,
yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, and hey, and it's I understand because it doesn't matter what size show it is. You have a musician or an artist, whatever it is, that's up on stage doing their craft, putting everything in front of somebody.
Yeah.
And to have whatever happen, not allow them to create that expression, I can understand that being extremely frustrating. And, kind of audio engineering is it's one of those things where you can just kind of get into it if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But to get really good at it and understanding why things are going wrong takes a lot of time and experience. So there are a lot of people out there that are in situations where they're kind of over their head and they don't necessarily know why things are going wrong or don't know how to troubleshoot super quick. And it can lead to unfortunate situations. Yeah. So, I get it. And that's why it's like, if I have an understanding, if I know, like, even, hey, this probably isn't going to happen, but I have certain things that I do where it's like, I know things can fail. Yeah. So let's just put things in place so that if they do fail, we can solve them quickly.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for letting me kind of pepper you with some questions. I just know nothing about that side of the industry, and it's obviously extremely critical.
Yeah, I think it's kind of designed to be that way, where it's like you're not supposed to know it even exists.
Well, and I was talking to
the invisible arm.
Yep.
In my ham discussion with Stephanie, she put a 1-15 ratio for every one person on stage. Say if there's just like a solo acoustic act on stage, there's 15 people working behind the scenes, and so just as critical. And you could argue there's probably more people in the industry that are behind the scenes making sure these artists are supported, right? So, so let's get into Jam a little bit. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what would you say is the big mission of Jam?
Yeah, I think the overarching mission is really to just create a space where connections can happen no matter where people are on their journey within music, that help propel them forward, help ensure that they can grow and then feel self-expressed, like Dan was talking about earlier, with like people being able to be, whether that be on the stage, whether that be just you're trying to find somebody to jam with in your garage so you're not jamming alone, or people to listen to music to, or taking it to, a professional career.
Yeah.
So the goal is to just make it easier for people to make those connections, to find the resources that they need, not just other people to be bandmates, but also organizations that can support them, or rehearsal spaces, or
open mics and
jams where they can start to practice to play, other events and networking that's going on. And the reality is, like, even some of the names that Dan mentioned, right? It's like everybody started nowhere, right? Like everybody started with just being willing to try to pick up some kind of instrument. And we have to remember that, like, no matter where you are on that journey, at some point you were a step behind. Yep. And so how can we support people that just feel that in their bones? Like, that's what they are meant to do. How can we make that process easy for them?
Okay.
And I'd say, I know that that's kind of a vague, we do that in a lot of different ways.
Well, yeah,
but,
no, and that's
but
why
the crux of what our goal.
And so you started it when?
Yeah. So in 2020, we were like, at first we were talking about like, hey, let's create, like, why can't we create some kind of like directory where it's easy to find all different kinds of people in the music community. Like, it can be filterable. You can find bandmates or people to fill in at your gigs, or other bands to play with you. And then obviously the pandemic happened, and we're like, oh, maybe people don't want to meet strangers online during a pandemic to play in a house.
Pivot.
So we pivoted a bit for that period of time. And the first sort of quote unquote feature that we built out on this website was a filterable way to go through all of the grants and resources that came up for the music community during COVID, and like figure out if you were eligible, and like links to them so that people could, get paid and or pay rent and or have health insurance or any of these things. And then once things started to open up a little bit more, we were still planning and doing all the web dev kind of design planning stuff in the background. But I just felt like people were really itching to reconnect again in the community. Like, it was just such a shutdown for especially the music ecosystem in Austin in particular, and I'm sure everywhere, but especially here, being that there's so much of the community that's live music. And so we said, well, while we're slowly building out this website that we have never done, none of us were web dev at that point. I mean, Matt is, thankfully. Thank you, Matt Bice, our other co-founder. But we said, well, let's just start doing, like, let's just help people meet now. Like, people want to meet, like, let's do in-person events. And we did our first networking event, July 2021. And we did that format that was kind of an intro circle, and breaking out people into smaller groups, rotating them around, coming back together, and then doing free form connection. And that worked really well. And it's been our format ever since. And we've done them every single month. Since July 2021.
Yeah. And we kind of had, I don't remember how long the conversation was before we did our first meetup, but I think we quickly realized it was like, hey, we're going to do this meetup with structure, because I don't know how many meetups you've been to, or whoever listening, how many meetups y'all have been to. Like, a lot of them are very loose. You kind of show up and you're like, okay, how do I talk to people?
Where's the sign up desk?
Because not everybody is a social butterfly, which, I'm not. And I don't want to just show up to a random group of people and be like, how do I start a conversation? So it was like, let's create this rigid structure. Let's give people icebreakers. Every single breakout round we give, blanking on the word.
Well,
prompts.
we give an optional prompt.
We give an
I'm
optional
like, it's
prompt.
not rigid.
Yeah, but no.
I'm
The
like,
fact
it's
the fact that you show up and we circle up, we go around, everyone says their name and what they play and why they came, maybe what they're looking for, and then we do 4 rounds of breakout groups that are 10 minutes long, and we cycle everyone, and sometimes we go around and break up the groups, and someone gives us a glare at the table like, I'm in the middle of a really good conversation. And it's like, part of it is like, okay, that's why we're doing it, but also it's like we're trying to create those and get as many people to meet as possible, and have it be intentional, and have those you come and you get so much more out of it than just like maybe you come and talk to one person.
Yeah.
And people get a lot out of it.
There's something really magical that happens and I don't even think that when we first started was I thinking about the in-person events fully, and they're so central and core to what we do.
Yeah.
And obviously like the connection that you make in person is so powerful. And with building the website, it was never like, hey, let's like build this thing and keep people online. It was always like, let's build this thing so people can find somebody or find the rehearsal space and then like get out in the world and like be in action and like connect with them in person. But the in-person events, it's so interesting to see when people show up. A lot of we always have a mix of people. I think we have over 1,300 members in that meetup group now.
Wow.
And it's like, we have people that have been coming since almost the first one. Maybe they don't come to everyone. Some of them come to a lot of them. Sometimes you don't see people for like 2 years and then they show back up and they're like, hey, do you remember me? Like I started a band or I did this. Or sometimes people are telling us like, oh yeah, like I met this person one time. Like I was just their best man in their wedding last year. And so there's these like connections that happen when people show up in a space. They all have a passion and care about some similar thing, music.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the opportunity to like share that in an authentic, vulnerable way. And I think the questions that we ask people to talk through just opens them up. And from watching people do the first intro circle where they might be like, hey, like my name's Sam, like I play the bass sometimes. I'm just exploring. And then we do the second circle when normally there's also more people that have kind of sprinkled in. And the confidence level of people after just being in that space for, an hour and a half, talking to other people, realizing that no matter where they're at, it's okay. And like everybody else is sort of struggling or has advice or is in this space. They just, it inspires me so much. I think I get just as much out of it as hopefully everybody else does.
Would you say that's your number one, I guess, biggest factor to keep doing it?
Yeah, totally.
That aspect of
it inspires me to keep playing as a musician too, right?
Perfect.
It's like, I think it's easy sometimes, especially if you're like a songwriter, you're like sitting at home or you're not like actively in a band practicing all the time and you're sort of figuring out like what's my next step.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of people that we've connected with in those events that like at one time they were a pro player or at one time they did have a full band, then they had kids, they kind of fell out of it, now they're getting back into it, or people that never took the leap out of the bedroom that are freaking fantastic. They like are like, amazing. Oh, I don't know how to play.
That are so just have so much inside of them. They're like, oh, I don't know, okay, and then it's just like.
Then they hop on and play, and you're like, what the hell? This is like one of the best things I've seen in 2 years. Like, what's going on? So I think just having other people around to talk to about, what does your creative process look like? Like, what inspires you around songs? How did you get into music? What are some of your biggest challenges in music? How did you get your first gig? Like, and just having people share those types of experiences, I think just breaks something open in people. And they feel connected. And I think that's in a lot of ways, that's just what we're all looking for in some capacity. Doesn't matter what your hobby is, but just to feel like seen and heard and connected. So that's what we're doing with those events, which is awesome.
And where do y'all host the events?
Yeah, so we purposely rotate them around town, and we purposely rotate the day of the week because, as you probably know, musicians also usually have an assortment of other
Mhm.
jobs.
Yep.
Most of them are not full-time musicians all the time. And so we rotate north, south, east, west, central. We rotate, doing some on weekday evenings or mornings or evenings on the weekdays, and we try to avoid like heavy gig times. Like
Yeah.
we're not really doing
Like Friday
hobby
at 9
events
p.m.
Friday,
Yeah,
Saturday
exactly.
night. Yeah. But that's also important because musicians are everywhere and we want to try to be as accessible as possible for people. And when we rotate around town, people also may end up, not always because people will drive to them, but they may end up meeting other musicians that are kind of in their area as well,
yeah.
which makes it easier to connect.
And so, but it's at bars, rehearsal spaces, basically anywhere that you guys work with.
Yeah, mostly we kind of try to do places that are, depends on the time of the year, but like not necessarily just like a straight up bar, but more like kind of like a beer garden.
Okay.
Coffee
shop kind of vibe.
Okay.
If we
thing.
can go places that like support live music and have
Absolutely.
stages, then we will. We always like attempt, our main criteria are like, do they have enough tables that we can like commandeer an area?
Yeah.
Do they have decent parking? Well, they have some sort of drink and ideally not just alcohol and like ideally some kind of food. And then sometimes we're like, we need to be indoors because it's super cold or super hot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of difficult to find in Austin.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to
venues.
this and you own a large indoor space that's not super loud and serve drinks and food, please reach out to us.
I don't know about indoor, but outdoor Nomadic Outpost is great.
Yeah, we've done meetups there.
Yeah.
We do really try, like, it's not always, but most of the venues that we go to, like, do support live music in some way. Like, we honestly try to probably go when there's not a band playing because it's hard to compete with, like, a live sound band that's playing.
And that's not your intention.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, it needs to kind of be quiet because people need to talk.
Yeah.
Ideally, we look for places that, like, maybe we're helping bring them business to, like, maybe it's a slower night, like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Monday.
Yeah.
And we're bringing like a big group of people, anywhere between 15 and like 35 to 40 people are going to show up, and just like supporting the local spaces that also support musicians. And you had said earlier, I think talking with Dan, just like this ecosystem, like it's not just about the musician. Like the musician is core to what we're doing because they're making music, but it's everyone that makes music happen. Like if you're a musician, like you're just going to go play out in front of your house, I mean, that's fine. But like usually you want to play in a venue, and then that's somebody else's dream that they built that venue to like show up in the space, or the sound engineer, or, the people that are booking, and it's all interconnected.
Well, I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I started the show, is because there's so many people in the scene like yourselves. That's why you're sitting in those chairs that make the scene happen. Right. And so that definitely understand that. And so the mixers are just one part of it. But I was messing around on their website last night, and I spent like 30 minutes just going through all different ways of looking at things, and it's extremely user friendly. So compliments to whoever did design it. If that was you,
it was all of us.
It was a combination, but one of our old co-founders too, Elijah Parker, who helped design as well. Yeah, and Matt actually coding it, and me bugging Elijah saying, "Well, what about this? What if people think about it this way?" And Dan too.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we all shop on Amazon and we all filter things throughout and want that customizable experience, and that's what it does for you, right? And so, and I'll let you kind of describe it, but basically, I think you said it or I read it somewhere. It's basically like a directory or phone book of everything that Austin music has to offer. So if you're looking for a band in blues, male, female, 30 to 50 years old, I'm just throwing numbers out there. And I like the slide rule for, hobby to professional. I thought that was awesome because, for me, I would go way to the left of hobby, and, I don't want to waste somebody's time who's looking for a professional deal, So I don't know. I just really liked it, and I know I'm missing a lot, but basically, So there was that aspect of it, and then the community support aspect, where financial literacy. You talked on grants. I mean, it was, and I'm trying to think the whole list now in my mind, but there was a whole gamut of just things that I, as just a music fan, would never think that musicians would really need to look for, right? And now that I've had the show and I've talked to people, I understand it. But even as a new musician, you probably wouldn't know. Oh, there's grants I can apply for here, right? And it's kind of like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we went for when we first started building it. And I don't think we've said the name since we've started it. So obviously the company name is Joining All Musicians Jam, but the website is joiningallmusicians.com or jamaustin.com.
Yeah.
And that was the
Sorry
whole.
No,
it's fine. No, that's
our fault.
that was the whole idea behind it. Was like, we want to build a place where if you're a musician in Austin, here's the one place that you go to do everything that you need to do. And we're still in the process of building it to get to that point. But what we've built so far, in our opinion, is a huge resource to musicians and bands and people who are in the music industry as well. And that's everything from going on there and building yourself a profile. And, just kind of like with anything else, the more you put on your profile, the more in detail you are. That's how people find you. So you can search and filter, and like you said, by things that they play, instruments that they play, the genres that you like to play, your skill level, your perceived skill level. And that was kind of one of the things. It's a long conversation that we've had, and I think we changed some of the wording that we used for certain things. But it's like, when you're trying to describe what level you're at, it's like it's all perceptive, because someone can say that they're a hobbyist, but they're maybe extremely skilled, and someone's it's all perception. So it's like, what do people want to put? But it's not just finding other musicians. There's an events page where we have an ongoing updated list of all the open mics and open jams in Austin, which is a huge thing for especially starting out musicians or musicians who are writing new stuff and want to test it out.
And it's every genre.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
We don't discriminate against any type of open mic and open jam. I think there's like drum circles on there too. I mean, anything you want to get into.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was looking at
the open jams are great, and I feel like a lot of people don't know about the concept of an open jam, because I've had people be like, I just want to play, but I don't want to like go and just play by myself. Just my whatever.
Yeah.
One mic and an acoustic guitar. I don't want to do that. And it's like, well, man, there's these open jams, and there's like a house band. You can just go and sit in and just play guitar. You can go and play bass. You can sit in on the drums. Like it's this great concept and they're happening almost every night all over town. But yeah, I mean, like we recently put on all the resources, and like that resources is a huge thing, because musicians, and I feel like a lot of musicians go into being a musician starting off as, I just want to play music because I love to do this. And they don't go into it with the mindset of like, if I'm going to be a professional, this is more than just me playing music. I have to
build a business,
be a business person as well. And where do you learn to do that, especially if you've only been focusing on how to play an instrument and write music and be creative?
Right. Exactly.
Those things don't always go together. So like, how do you find that? And there's so many organizations and resources here in Austin and in the country that can help you do that. So we have all those on there that are also a filterable list to make it easier for you to find.
So you touched on how many members, so 1,300 on the platform total?
1,300 in the meetup group, and there's about 700 musicians, plus I think maybe almost 40 bands. There might be a little bit more bands on there. Bands is newer because we had individual profiles first, and then we realized that bands were making profiles like as under individual profiles. And so we built band profiles, which in the future, the plan is to have like more features available to bands for like finding gigs and rehearsal spaces and recording studios or booking and all of this stuff. And in the band profiles, they can integrate, like you can link all kinds of things in your personal profile. Like if you have, a band page or you have an album out on Spotify or you have a YouTube channel where you upload stuff or just your social media channels. But in the band profile, you can actually embed videos and embed photos. So people, like the goal is to be able to make it easier for even other entities that are looking for musicians to be able to just kind of like have a glance and have a lot of what they need right there.
We want to get make a space for people to get booked.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, if you're looking for a manager or you're a manager looking for clients?
We're working towards that. So we're in the process of brainstorming what the industry and business profile looks like, because right now we have the resources tab, but all of those events and resources are like manually updated by Dan and I on the back end.
Man.
That takes a lot of time and energy. It's hard for us to keep up because there are so many different amazing people that are like organizing music community in Austin, whether it be a new business they formed or their own events that they're hosting. And so trying to create an opportunity for those people to be able to like put out there what it is that they're doing. So the business component is part of kind of the bigger picture, but we started with musicians first because we're all, even though Dan's an audio engineer, he's also a bedroom bassist. So we're all musicians.
She got closer to the mic.
We're also,
she wants to make sure that people know that, man.
Just so you know, we're also like all musicians as well. And we want musicians to be core of what we want, of what we're doing. We want to be intentional about it. And the goal is to uplift like the whole music community in the process. So business profiles are TBD. A manager can totally go on there and like filter through musicians, but at some point they will be able to make their own profile. And just like you and what you're doing in your living room, like this is like, there are people that are doing sound recording. I have a friend who's a musician who also is doing recording in his own home studio. Right. And it's like, they're a new business and like starting out. So like being able to find people like that are at the same place that you are as a musician. Maybe you can't afford a $15,000 studio time, but you can afford Bill, who's been recording in his in his basement 3 blocks down.
And with the technology now, like what you're doing here, like you don't need to throw a lot into making something that works. You don't need to go to a studio and have a producer to make something that sounds good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I think that the big thing too is, like Dan said, we're trying to create a hub where people can go and find like almost anything they need. But it's not that like Jam is necessarily like creating all of that. It's like we just want to create the space where the people who are already building that, like it's easy to find them. Like Jam's not going to go build a bunch of rehearsal spaces. We want you guys to find all the rehearsal spaces that are already available to you and be able to figure out what fits. We're not going to start, only booking gigs. We will do some of our own showcases, but we also want you to be able to find all of the different people that are hosting gigs and showcases around town and be able to connect with them and get your foot in the door.
Yeah. You're providing a road and a conduit. And so what would you say is the biggest struggle that you guys have, or, and it doesn't have to be a negative thing, so to speak, but, just like what's your biggest pain point as an organization in this space?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. Like our in-person events and then the online platform, like some of that community overlaps, but we also have like some separation in that where like some people are just doing in-person stuff and some people are only online, and they may not even like realize, even though we'll like say it a bunch of times, it's like there's not like a perfect overlap there. And I think the other piece of what we're building is the network effect of what we're doing is so critical. Like the reality is the more people in a given area that are on a space, the more likely you are to make the connection. So it's part of the reason too that we said, let's just do this like in Austin. You may find like there are other websites out there that have like Band Finder or like bandmates.com or like, but they're across like the whole United States or the whole world. And they're like, we have, 5 million people on there, but then they have 6 people in your area.
Right.
So,
which is a cool idea, but in the execution, it doesn't solve the issue.
Yeah. So I think the big thing is like that our goal with having that space is like for people to get on there so that whenever the right place at the right time is, it's easy to find. And sometimes I think people are afraid. Sometimes people are afraid to make profile because they're like, oh, I'm not like a professional musician.
That's the whole point.
Like putting myself out like visibly as a musician
Right.
can be scary.
Mhm.
Sometimes our challenge is like, well, we fixed this a bit, but initially we didn't require any kind of like filling out of the profile when you first logged in.
I see.
So we had like blank profiles and then like following up, hey, like nobody can find you. If it's just your name is just Sasha and nothing else.
Sasha plays guitar.
Yeah, well, not even that, you know. So now when you fill it out, it's like there's at least some like hashtags and things that you put in, like what instrument you play.
I like the social media embedment part of it, and not just social media, but platform embedment in general. Because I mean, it's super accessible. We're humans, we're lazy as hell, and anything you can do to where you can just click instead of having to open a new tab, go to Spotify, find this artist, it's right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, those are the small little things that can take what you're trying to do and just elevate it to a whole nother level when you think of that detail and you're super intentional like that. So
yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we think about when we're designing features is like, we've interviewed people who do booking and talent buying, like what do you want out of this? If you go on here, like what are the things that are going to make you want to go on here?
Yeah.
And because we want a musician who, like you said, musicians some of them are afraid because they don't want to be seen as a professional musician, but for the ones that do, we want them to be able to just make a profile, fill that out, and then obviously do your other things to get booked, but like this is just another resource where you can make that, and maybe just like hopefully the gigs will just come in because people can find you.
Yeah. I think the other piece of it is that we do our best to, because we are all part of the music community and all different, like when we first started building this, I sort of broke out from what I was seeing the music community, and you can put this on just musicians, but you could put it on probably anybody in the music community, into like 4 categories of like people that are just initially like beginning playing, right? Or like they just started recording a podcast in there. You're probably more further along. You're probably where I am with mine. But so there's like beginning, and then there's people that are collaborating, right? So that's where you go from like, okay, I'm just learning to play to now I want to play with other people. Maybe people stay in those 2 boxes their whole life and they just want to jam around and like play in a backyard barbecue at a friend's house. Maybe they do some open mics and that's like where they want to be. But sometimes people move into the space that I call like dreamers, where it's like, hey, I could do something with this, right? They're not a professional musician yet, but they're like, maybe they're starting to gig. Maybe they're starting to try to monetize music in some way. Maybe they're starting to release music. Maybe they have an actual band that's like trying to play out. And then you have like professional level career musicians. And so a lot of who we're connecting with right now are kind of these 2 groups in the middle. Although we've had like the whole spectrum, right? We've had pro musicians and songwriters. We had a guy from Meetup that was like songwriting for Warner Bros. For 20 years, moved to Austin, was just trying to like get connected with the music community. And then you have people that are like, I just picked up the flute last week. So
yeah, so it's all over.
It's the whole spectrum. But I think that's the same for people doing podcasts around music. That's the same for people trying to do sound recording or producing. And so how can we build out the tools that those people need as they grow? And Dan talked about like sometimes you don't know what tool you need until you get there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I don't know how to do this. Like, oh, hey, look, we spent all this time being like, we're gonna get this song down. We have 30 minutes set. How do we get a gig? Oh crap. We didn't think about that part yet. And
Something
then
I-
you show up at the gig and it's like, how do we do this?
How do we
Yeah.
plug in? Nobody
Yeah.
told
Yeah,
us
just
not
who
to
do I talk
unplug
to?
the
There's
guitar
no-
and make
it
a bunch of
doesn't- yeah.
popping sounds. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and I talk of the musicians that have been on, we talk a lot about, there's one thing to be an artist and to make your art and pursue your art and push your art into the world. But that act of pushing your art out into the world, however that looks, whether it be through a medium like Spotify or live shows and gigging, is a whole other side of the business that I think people, when they just get started out, and I'm not speaking from experience here. This is just something the word is lost on me. I've witnessed. Thank you. Observed. Thank you. Is that a lot of people just don't think about that, or don't put as much thought into it as they think they should. Maybe is the way to put that, because that's a whole other hard, tough side of the business, and you guys are making it easier.
Yeah.
If anything, you're providing a resource that did not exist. And what do you think would be the biggest, your number one, if money was unlimited, what's the number one thing you would do right now?
Oh gosh, we would all quit our day jobs.
Yeah.
Well,
because this is something that we do, this is something that we do outside of our, just like a normal musician. We all have day jobs and we do this outside. So I think we would all be able to put even more time and energy into we have a huge dream for like what we're building, and what's on the website right now is only some of the very initial features of what we like want it to be. We want it to be like a living, breathing music ecosystem. And we want that to be not only easier for musicians, but like the organizations that support musicians, the nonprofits that support musicians, the venues, the rehearsal spaces, like whatever those pain points are that are showing up in how we connect in that ecosystem. We just want it to be easier for people.
Yeah.
So I think if money was unlimited, then we would especially have Matt Bice, our other co-founder, who's our web dev guy. He would quit his job.
Yeah, I guess
he would code more.
I didn't ask earlier, but so it's y'all two, and you have two other co-founders.
Yeah, well, we have Matt Bice is our other co-founder currently, and then when we initially started the project, there was another partner of ours, Elijah Parker, who helped initially design with Dan and I.
But y'all two are the only ones really boots on the ground, so to speak, at this point in time. I'm just curious.
Dan and I do more of the in-person.
We do the in-person
events.
stuff.
Okay.
Matt does
I mean,
coding.
we'd rather Matt spends his time doing the coding because
Yeah.
neither of us know how to code.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, and Matt's
So he does
also
a
a
lot of
musician in a few bands too.
Okay.
And his
Plays out a
bands
lot.
play out a lot, and he's like in that dreamer space where it's like they've toured, they gig regularly, they release music, they have music videos.
What's the bands?
Halfway Atlantic, I think also Rain. I don't know if he's still in. I don't know if he's in all the ones that I know still. Seven Houses.
Or Houses I Die.
We Die In. I
remember the
died
exact
in
name of
some
that.
hosses that somebody died in.
What kind
Sorry,
of music?
Matt.
He's like a metal punk.
Oh,
Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
like hardcore. I think some of them are a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah. Halfway Atlantic is more like
Pop
hard
punk, I
punk, pop. Yeah. Rock, metal.
All right.
Yeah. He's a great guitarist.
And you touched on it a little bit. I mean, somebody finding their best man at their wedding is a pretty solid success story. But are there any bands in towns that people would know that kind of came out of the jam, the Joining All Musicians?
Yeah, I think one of them just broke up, but Foxglove met through Jam. There's other
Tokyo Vinyl.
Vinyl. Some of them met through Jam.
Yeah. There's a musician who got a record deal, I believe.
Wow.
From it.
Yeah,
and went on a tour.
The other piece of that too is like, again, these like points of connection and just shortening them, because it wasn't even necessarily like, it was two people, I think, that came to a jam event that made friends, and then they talked outside of jam, and it was like the neighbor of that person who got them the record deal and like moved them forward. And we also have oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? With Nate and oh my gosh, I'm gonna I have to like pull out my phone and look at it. I feel really bad that I
That's
can't
all
think of
right.
his name. But we've had
It's a
people
good thing
that have
about
gone on like
audio only.
national tours and there are I don't know if I can name like all these bands that everybody's playing in and but there's a bunch of bands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
There's a bunch
there,
of bands.
there are a bunch of
We don't
bands that
know
are
'em all.
active. Some
Yeah.
that were active for a couple of years and have since split. You know, people move or things
Sometimes
work out.
what's hard is we don't like know our impact fully until people come back later and they're like, oh yeah, I met so and so and we've been in a band for 3 years and now we need a new drummer, and then they like come back to the
I
meetup.
see.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like sometimes when the successes happen, it's like,
Yeah,
well,
we don't
now
even
we
know
haven't
because
seen
they don't
that.
report back.
Well,
Because
and
they
that's-
come to a meetup
Yeah.
or whatever, and then they don't come back, and that's fine. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. We're
It's
not
not why you're
doing.
doing it.
We're not doing this for people
Yeah.
to constantly be there.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it to be able to say, look what we did. So, you know, it's
Yeah.
just,
I think too, there's an element of like just it's not even just bands. Like we had two friends that met at a jam meetup years ago. They started Austin Producers Alliance. So they started their own like music community organization, and now like they're connecting like electronic producers with one another, and they're doing
Shout out
a
to
regular meetup.
Kyle and Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey Kyle and Kevin.
Austin
and-
Producers Alliance.
Yeah, Austin Producers Alliance. And so sometimes it's just about making the connection. And yeah, I always, people do come up and tell us, and I'm like, oh, I need to write this down. And I forget. We know it's valuable. We know it's like serving people. And
I wonder if you
really-
could just send something out, say, hey, if you've joined a band or if something's come out of this, you know,
we need
talk
to.
to us about
I
it.
need to get better at sending out newsletter emails to people.
But yes, we definitely have had multiple success stories and lots of connections made.
If you're listening to this
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah,
send us an
and
email.
you've
Let's
been
use it.
positively
Info at
impacted,
joiningallmusicians.com.
if you've been positively impacted by our community, please let us know. Tell us how.
And so, I mean, you guys don't do all of this in a vacuum, you know, obviously with Reed and Local Sets ATX, you did some showcases there. I know you've integrated with Music Mixer a little bit.
Yeah.
And so what other organizations in town have y'all worked with?
Yeah, I think our main goal with starting to, in this last year, we did more collaborative events in 2025. So we did our first showcase, which was kind of our like official launch event of the website in 2025. We had been testing it and it was up and people could have joined, but we weren't like
It
fully
wasn't out there. Mhm.
So when we did that, like because of the core mission of Jam is to connect like all of the music ecosystems and help people find one another, like that means our goal is also to share out and collaborate with other people that are creating space for music in Austin too. So Local Sets ATX, we did a collaborative showcase with Music Mixer. We've talked with I've talked actually with like the Bastrop Live Music Foundation.
Oh, nice.
I'm out in Cedar Creek
Okay.
now about doing some kind of collaborative event with them. We've talked, there's a couple other music community organizers that do house concerts. We've talked with like John from Austin Music Love about doing something collaboratively. And so I think there's more collaborations in our future.
Yeah.
And part of that again is just like intermixing those communities so that more connections happen.
Yeah.
People aren't siloed.
So, you know, we've talked a lot about how the platform can be used for the working side of the music community, but what about the listener? What about the average fan? How does the platform integrate with them, if at all? And if the intention is zero, then that's what it is. You know, I'm just curious.
You know, I
don't
think
know if it really does.
Yeah, at some point there may be some component to that. I'll say this, that most musicians and people in the music community are music fans. So naturally, and you play bass, you're a music fan, you're a music fan, I'm a music fan. And so there have been people that have asked at meetups and talked about like, hey, I just want to know like when other people's shows are so I can show up and support them.
Yeah.
So I think at some point there may be a component of that, but our goal isn't to like be a streaming platform.
Right.
It's to make it easier for people kind of on the back end and in the creation process of music to propel themselves forward. Part of that is having people come to your shows, But I don't think the main goal is to just like share out like, hey, I have this event, like come to it. There's a
Right.
lot of platforms that do that that people use. It might be nice to have some kind of front end experience at some point where people can find, local musicians and
Right.
where they're playing. But it's not it's not like the core mission and vision. It's kind of extra.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just curious because, again, because I am, call it better musician, I found the platform extremely, I don't know, just refreshing to me. Because honestly, I think it's always been in a guy like me who's in my position, in the back of my mind, like, yeah, it'd be cool to just like go see what's out there, and you hear about jams just by, I scrolled across some social media by accident and saw that there's a bluegrass jam at radio this weekend, but you're putting everything in a very intentional way and really just giving a lot of opportunities to a lot of people that existed, but it's a communication thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what is y'all's definition of the live music capital of the world?
I'll let you go for that, Dan.
My definition of live music capital of the world. Well, I don't know if it's a definition, but just kind of how I feel about it. So I'm not originally from here.
Okay.
Shocker.
Where you from?
Like most people. I'm from New Jersey.
Okay.
And so that's where I started my career. And I worked in a club. And then when I wanted to move out of the club scene and start working with companies, sound companies, mostly what I was getting was corporate gigs, with like conferences, weddings, lav mics on people talking about boring things. And there, that's kind of how I make a good amount of my money now. But at that point, especially in New York City, they make you wear a suit, and it's not what I really wanted to be doing. And I was looking for any way out. And for me, Austin was the answer because it was a place where I could come to, and right away, once I moved here, was propelled into producing live concerts, and mixing shows and doing monitors and just on decent sized gigs. So for me, it definitely is one of those places where live music is happening all the time. And if you want to be a part of live music, it is a place that should be high on your list, because it doesn't matter what genre it is. Like it's happening here, and it has constantly changed over the years. If you look at it, what it was in the 70s compared to now, like it's very different, but there's still so much live music happening, and there's so many opportunities.
It is the land of opportunities.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, your platform is bringing those opportunities to light. So what's your take on it?
Yeah. So when I think about Austin and the concept of it being the live music capital of the world, what comes to me is, like, I'm originally from the Bay Area. I know, I'm sorry, Texas, but
it's all love.
I know. I love you. I've been here since 2011.
Sorry,
so
look, we got 3 people sitting in a room that aren't from Austin
talking about how much we love Austin, Texas.
So they can get over it.
And I'm wearing cowboy boots.
Yeah.
So I fully integrated. But I'm from an area that also has like a pretty decent music scene, has a lot of music, and a lot of really famous people have like come up through that space. My mom's in bluegrass out there. There's a huge connection of community out there. But when I go out to the Bay Area, it's like a lot of like formal ticketed events. It's like you have to pay to access, you have to pay sometimes to do some of these like different classes to meet people. And in Austin, I feel like live music is just everywhere. Like there it's like there's specific venues that you go to and they have music. Here it's like half of the restaurants you go to have a stage in them. Like people are playing on the street corner, people are playing in the park, people are playing at each other's houses, people are playing everywhere. And so I really do think, like, I joke that like you could probably find, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there is live music happening in Austin in at least 200 places, if not more. And I think that
and cool stuff too.
Yeah, and
Real
I think
cool stuff.
well, and I think that that's not happening everywhere.
No, it's not.
And like even if there are other cities that have really strong music scene, sometimes it's like this more formal space where you kind of go through this trajectory and you're like, okay, I'm doing this and this is where the music people are. And in Austin, I also joke that if you walk into a grocery store and just like randomly polled strangers, that I think like 70% of people probably either like are playing music, like have played music or are learning to play music.
Yeah,
like
and speaking of grocery stores, I just talked to someone the other day who just played a gig inside of a grocery store. So
was it Ham Day at HEB?
I don't know what it was, but it's like you're not finding other cities where there's grocery store concerts.
Yeah, well, and there's obviously Central Market's doing grocery store concerts regularly, but like there's convenience stores, like there's just all different types of entities that are like tapping into music here where you can see and experience music in a different format. I also think there's like this huge growing underswell of like house concerts that's happening in Austin.
Yes.
Like, and that's all another one of those elements of like, how do we help people connect to that? Right. Because those are often happening in these little mini siloed ecosystems too. So like musicians being able to play those, house concerts being able to say like, hey, we like want people to come to these. I've seen that growing exponentially. And so I just think it's like in people's bones here. Like it's like
well and I think you touched on the music scene's not what it was in the 70s. I mean that's just how life works, right? Like it's just progress. But I think you have the Moody's of the world, right? I mean, hell, there's 3 Moody's in town, and they can all host Billy Strings for different reasons, right? Who's an arena act, but so you have that side of Austin music where if there's a big touring band in town, if there's a big touring band, they will play in Austin, Texas, and I think that's kind of made possible by the backs of the Willie Nelsons and the Stevie Ray Vaughns and that have come before in Austin. But I think really for me, the community aspect that you just described of the grassroots movement is the strongest in this city than it is anywhere else.
Yeah.
And, I've visited all of the other music cities across the country. And so it's hard to get a flavor for what a grassroots feeling might be. But talking with people on the show and just kind of understanding more about how the business works is, I mean, the Austin, Texas music community is the strongest. And I think that's for me what that term means. It's the live music capital of the world. It doesn't have to be at Moody Center. It can be at somebody's backyard.
Yeah.
And that's the most important aspect of it, really, right? Because I mean, it's exactly what you guys are doing. You're bringing the community together. You're supporting musicians in a way that and they might not get in any other city. So, so what would you say is the big 5 to 10 year goal for Jam?
Oh man, 10 years. That's so big.
Yeah.
How about let's go 2 years. Let's go 2 years.
I would say one of our biggest goals is having the Jam platform be a more organic, self-sustaining organism. Like Noelle was saying kind of before, the more people on there, the more it can function better because, like you said, the more people in one place, the more you can find exactly what you're looking for. So that's kind of what we're working towards is getting more people on there so that it is a lot more successful for people finding each other and professionals, like industry professionals finding those musicians and bands.
Yeah, I think expanding the ecosystem of who's on there, obviously still like growing all of the musicians and the artist profiles that are there and band profiles. But, we've also we did a showcase last year. Our goal like with in-person is we'll continue to do all of the monthly networking events, but also expand like some of the different events we're doing because part of our goal, as I've mentioned, is like support people along that whole journey. So it's like, okay, I am playing music. Maybe I'm not ready to play in front of people, but I'll go talk to people about music.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to this networking event, right? Maybe they already are playing and they're just looking for a bandmate, but I'm talking. Okay, now we have a band. We host open mics and jams twice a year. So people can actually like play in front of one another, like our own open mics and jams that are all musicians in people's houses. So it's just among like your peers.
Right. Yeah.
And then obviously we have all the events on the website where people can find open mics and jams to play at. Okay, that's cool. Now we're starting to play. We're getting comfortable in front of people. Hey, we need to play gigs. So we want to be able to also help people get some of their first showcases and gigs in like a more professional type setting where they're like on a bill with people. They have photos. It'll help them get their foot in the door in other places. So we did a big showcase last year. Like we want to continue to do that and expand it. We want to do collaborative showcases with other music community organizers and just help kind of, again, cross-pollinate all of those different groups of people. And then as we get more people on the platform and other industry profiles, we'll expand some of the resources. Like we've talked about having artists be able to make stage plots and have press kits. So it's like really easy for them to send to people that might be booking, and have rehearsal spaces and venues, like tell them like, hey, this is where, you know, you can play. This is the type of venue it is. This is the type of music that they typically book, like all the things that you would need to know. So just expanding on that and making it even more valuable for more different types of people.
Right. You all ever thought about the concept of a phone app? I was just curious.
Yeah. Yes. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is.
God,
I mean,
imagine.
it's making an app is not as easy as you would think.
What do you mean? I saw an AI commercial the other day.
Right.
And just type in a prompt. And
so one thing is like a website and an application are two different things, right? So like the website that's there, I will shout out to anybody that has an iPhone. You can open the website on a browser like www.jamaustin.com, and then you can save that under like a bookmark to your home screen, and it'll show up like it's an app. And that's what I have on my phone right now. So I can just easily access it. Yeah. But at some point we probably will build it into an app. Right now
it is a goal.
Website.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there's a financial blockade, and then there's also there's many things that you need to comply with within the app building process. That we're
this is a good question for Matt Bice.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I mean, for any app builders out there, come on,
I
need some help.
I think too, like all of the infrastructure and what's been built and coded as a website, like doesn't always, you know, coding is its own language. One thing that I've learned in this process, and I'm definitely not a web developer, but like I have learned a lot about like, the front end and the back end and the databases and the language that they use between and how you design stuff. You can't just like take what you've formatted on a website and then just be like plop it into an app.
Copy paste.
Like it's like different languages. Sometimes it's different tools depending on how they coded it. And so it's kind of like an entirely additional endeavor, which is a goal at some point, but the lowest barrier to entry was like, let's just make the website and people can just search it on their phone because they probably have service.
We all have computers in our pocket.
So
well, I appreciate y'all coming on to talk. I know it's been a long time coming, but you know, from when I first started the show and I was kind of looking for individuals, and I saw what y'all were doing, I was like, well, this is exactly who I want to talk to, because these are people in the community that are trying to make the music community better and just more efficient. However, what other $10 word you want to use. And I really appreciate what you're doing, even though I'm not a musician. I can see.
What do you mean? I see all these instruments on your wall.
You got like 10 guitars on the wall.
You were a bedroom musician.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Exactly. I shouldn't say that anymore, because on the platform, I can go find other bedroom musicians and go just be garage musicians together.
A musician isn't defined as someone who goes out and plays professionally.
Right. Yes, exactly.
It's a lot more than that.
So 3 musicians sitting in a room.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it again. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I look forward to seeing how everything continues to develop for y'all. All right.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks for listening. Know someone we should talk to? give us a shout on Instagram at Austin Music People. Tell your friends, tell your family, get out there and support Austin music.